We regret our decision of moving to Florida. Well, we don't, but some people do. And that's what I want to address today in this video. A sentiment that seems increasingly common from the latest uploads found on YouTube and search results, increasing in popularity on Google Trends. And after examining this viral trend, it's clear that the search term for moving away from Florida is also gaining in popularity too. But our relocation from Georgia involved selling nearly all of our belongings, everything we had, packing up a U-Haul trailer and heading south. Maybe you're envisioning doing the same, or at least some similar variation in regard to and relation to what you have, your belongings, your personal belongings, and where you currently live now and are planning to relocate from. And we now reside just a few feet away from the stunning Gulf Coast beaches, enjoying the fantastic weather and abundant sunshine that we have shared in a much more deeper backstory and insight into not only our decision to leave our family behind in Georgia and everything that we once knew and move just the three of us and Max too. So the four of us, Michelle, the kid, and me, down here to beautiful Destin, Florida, the luckiest fishing town in the Northwest Panhandle. And in that recent update, we discussed towing a U-Haul trailer behind a JL Jeep Wrangler Sahara, which if you're planning on doing the same, just make sure that you have a hard top roof, because U-Haul, they won't allow you to rent a trailer if you have a soft top. Oh, and ensure that it stays below their recommended 55 mile an hour max speed for optimal fuel efficiency. However, despite all of the perks that we love about living in Florida, there are several challenges prompting people to not feel the same way and ultimately choose to leave the state altogether and perhaps never to return, or at the very least, only to come back to visit for spring break or a week-long summer vacation. High living costs, particularly soaring housing prices, are a significant factor and concern expressed by many. And while Florida doesn't have a state income tax, the higher property taxes often offset this benefit, and the homeowner's insurance situation in Florida is also extremely problematic, marked by high premiums, limited availability, and rising costs, especially in the face of hurricane risks and reinsurance costs escalating, prompting government intervention and demand for reform and a complete overhaul. But for us, we originally decided to rent in order to avoid potentially getting locked into something that we didn't ultimately love, or in the off chance we decided we didn't really want to live here and instead move back to Georgia or perhaps try out some other part of the country. Since we made the move back in 2022, we have seen some major changes in the housing market and with real estate. Listing prices and time on the market when reviewing inventory today when compared to just 2 years ago is drastically different, and so is the rental market. And a term I use often to explain a major deciding factor for potential relocating candidates is climate complexities, which includes intense heat, prolonged summers, and high humidity. The Florida weather can pose challenges for some residents or potential would-be residents due to the near year-round heat and humidity, or lack of four seasons as some would describe it. But we mustn't ignore the elephant in the room. And no, not this guy back here, but hurricanes. Because Florida's susceptibility to hurricanes and natural disasters is another concern, and rightfully so. And although El Nino helped steer storms away from the U.S. last hurricane season, what about this year? But according to Policy Genius, the answer to the question, when does hurricane season start in Florida in 2024? Well, that answer is hurricane season officially starts on June 1st, 2024. However, over the past several years, Florida has seen cyclones form in mid to late May, and hurricane season officially ends on November 30, 2024. But Florida, which is most commonly known as the Sunshine State, faces a heightened hurricane risk compared to other U.S. states. So maybe it could be called the hurricane state too. And not just because of the Miami hurricanes. But out of the 301 hurricanes that have made landfall in the U.S. since 1851, 120 have impacted Florida, making it the most hurricane-prone state. With 1,350 miles of coastline along the Gulf and Atlantic, residents are urged to prepare for hurricane season by creating emergency plans, fortifying properties, and ensuring adequate home and flood insurance coverage. The period from mid-August to late October is particularly critical, with September 10 marking the official peak of hurricane season. And forecasted projections for the 2024 hurricane season, the Tropical Storm Risk, the TSR, predicts a very active season, 30% above the 30-year norm. But just to play it safe, try and avoid the most likely and historically prone areas to get hit. So, where do hurricanes hit the most in Florida? Well, Monroe County on the southwestern tip of Florida has experienced more hurricanes than any other Florida county, followed by Miami-Dade and Broward counties to the east. And you all probably remember how back in 2017, Hurricane Irma resulted in 4 to 6 feet of water in the Miami-Dade County area. And the area of the Sunshine State that experiences the least number of hurricanes is the Midwestern coast. And so as you go further northwest into the Panhandle, you'll begin to enter back into hurricane territory again. And the Florida Panhandle has experienced 66 hurricanes in recorded history, including 14 that were a Category 3, Category 4, or a Category 5. But where we live here in Destin, I think the last recorded hurricane was Hurricane Sally back in September 2020. And Hurricane Sally made landfall on the same date in the same place as Hurricane Ivan, which made landfall back in 2004, some 16 years prior. But Sally had developed from a disturbance over the Bahamas, intensifying into a tropical storm before reaching Category 2 hurricane status. And despite initial weakening, it unexpectedly re-intensified, making landfall near Gulf Shores, Alabama, causing widespread damage, storm surge flooding, and over 30 inches of rainfall in some areas. Numerous tornadoes occurred, and the local damage was estimated at $7.3 billion at the time. The asymmetrical structure of Sally led to continuous showers and thunderstorms across Florida, prompting tornado warnings and causing heavy rainfall and flooding in South Florida and the Florida Keys. But here in the Panhandle area, particularly in Pensacola and Gulf Breeze, significant wind damage, storm surge flooding, and rainfall occurred, resulting in millions of dollars in damages. Several barges broke loose in Pensacola Bay, causing closures of bridges and infrastructure damage. Tragically, multiple fatalities were recorded, including a missing boater and a victim of carbon monoxide poisoning from using a generator. And the storm's impact also led to evacuations, road closures, and sewage releases in various areas across Florida. Other impacts affecting Florida homeowners' recovery across the state include higher risk assessments from insurance companies, and that means higher insurance premiums for policyholders. And for residents in Florida during hurricane season, it's crucial to consider insurance options to address potential coverage gaps. Florida is among the 19 states that mandate a separate hurricane deductible, and there are some key points to remember. Number one, hurricane deductibles. Insurers in Atlantic coast states, including Florida, impose a separate deductible for hurricane wind damage claims. Unlike standard deductibles, hurricane deductibles are set as a percentage, with options like 2, 5, or even 10% in Florida. Activation of hurricane deductibles occurs when an official hurricane watch or warning is issued by the National Weather Service. Number two, windstorm insurance. And if your homeowner's policy excludes wind and hail coverage, purchasing windstorm insurance is essential. For those ineligible for private marketplace coverage, exploring wind-only policies through surplus lines insurance companies or resorting to coverage via the Florida FAIR plan is advisable. Number three, flood insurance, as homeowners insurance does not cover flood damage, making it imperative for Florida residents, given the state's high risk for flood and hurricane damage. Those residing in high-risk flood areas with federally backed mortgages are required to acquire and maintain flood insurance. Florida is definitely not the place to be if you're going to be extremely susceptible to financial loss due to the inherent risk and potential damages and dangers of seasonally bad weather. Being proactive in addressing these insurance considerations can significantly enhance protection against potential damages during the hurricane season in Florida. And the best thing to do is to make sure that you are prepared before the next storm. So, to prepare for hurricane season in coastal Florida, residents should consider taking the following steps. Before the storm, develop a family emergency plan. Create an emergency kit with essential supplies, safeguard important documents in a waterproof container, and make digital copies. Enroll in community or county emergency storm alerts. Understand your home's flood risk and purchase flood insurance, as homeowners insurance, again, doesn't cover flooding. And make sure you plan an evacuation route. During the storm, stay informed through weather alerts. Avoid areas affected by hurricane winds and flooding, and seek disaster assistance or find a local shelter if need be. And you can check road conditions on Florida's 511 during floods. And after the storm, listen to local officials for safety instructions and when it's safe to return home. Use protective clothing while cleaning up mold or debris. File a claim with coastal home or flood insurance for wind or water damage, and document your property's damage with videos and pictures. These preparations and actions are essential to ensure safety and to mitigate property damage during the hurricane season. Additionally, lifestyle and economic factors contribute to people leaving, including severe weather warnings, low wages in certain industries, crowded beaches during peak tourist season, changing politics, and rapid population growth. And then there's the traffic. Oh yes, the traffic, because it's yet another factor that sends some people packing and running to escape, with some areas obviously experiencing higher levels of congestion than others, although it does vary across the state. And I can say that living here in Destin, well, the traffic just isn't that bad. And maybe it's just because I'm a little bit biased since I've been so used to and having had survived Atlanta's rush hour traffic for so long. But despite these challenges, my goal here is to keep you guys in the know, informed, and educated. I aim to provide helpful information for anyone considering a move to Florida by offering insights based on our own personal experiences and through research and compiling the experiences shared by others. I'll drop a link to a video detailing the good, the bad, and the not so ugly truth about moving, including towing a U-Haul trailer, and share how we best tried to mitigate these challenges while focusing on the great opportunity that living in Florida would provide us as creators and building careers based on 3 pillars: doing what you love, being your own boss, and working remotely. This approach, coupled with working to improve our personal finances, allows for a life of abundance and minimizes financial restrictions. And our primary goals were freedom and happiness. Working as full-time YouTube content creators provides that freedom, creative autonomy, and an unbelievable opportunity to directly connect with you guys, the audience, the viewers, the channel members, and subscribers, not to mention the potential for significant earnings through ad revenue, sponsorships, merchandise sales, and so much more. And it seems like now, more than ever, being a content creator offers tremendous growth opportunities, lends to continuous learning, and the further development of a personal brand that can lead to collaborations, speaking engagements, and very worthwhile partnerships. And when it's all said and done, just knowing that we could possibly be making a positive impact on the audience's lives is a extremely powerful motivator. And in essence, being a full-time, monetized YouTube content creator combines the freedom of remote work with the satisfaction of running a creative business, offering a unique and rewarding career path. And living in Florida provides numerous other perks and benefits, particularly being so close to the beautiful Gulf Coast beaches. Folks, leave your comments and questions below, and subscribe to the channel for more videos like these about living in and moving to and everything else about Florida. Thank you guys for watching, and I hope to see you guys back here real soon.